Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Introduction to Zakat in the Hanbali school. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu salam ala Rasul Kareem. Rabbana taqabbal minna zidna ilma wa hikma wa huda. Asalullah an yuwafiqna lima yuhibbu wa yurda. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad abduka wa rasuluka nabiyil ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima. أعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا اللهم آتنا نفوسنا تقواها وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها اللهم ارحم شيوخنا أما بعد. All the praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the worlds. Everything happens in the world from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's our sustainer. He gives us all the rizq, all the things that happen. And may peace and blessings be upon the best of creation, Allah's final prophet and messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's the example that we follow. And today we're going over the Imam al-Sunnah, Imam Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, in the Zakat, the Kitab al-Zakat, al-Yadkhil, the introduction, the intro to the Zakat. And this is the summary of the Fiqh Hanbaliya in the book Al-Umda by the noble Sheikh Ibn Qudama, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him, and he summarizes the ruling in the Zakat. So Zakat, it literally means purification, it means purifying, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. Take from their wealth, the sadaqah, the charity, تُطَهِّرُهُمْ means to purify them, and تُزَكِّيهِمْ and purify them, and make them pure from it. That's literally what zakat means, the literal meaning of zakat. In the terminology, it refers to the obligation that people they have to give in charity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained on the different commodities and the things that a person they have that's obligatory in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's a little bit different than sadaqah. Sadaqah, it's very much open on how to do it and when to do it and where to go and things like that. But the zakat, it's an obligation and there's specific rules for the zakat. And the person, they should know those things to make sure they do it properly in the zakat. And again, the other thing about the zakat is that it's something we do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's an obligation on every Muslim, and they'll be held accountable for it on the Day of Judgment, on the things about the zakat. So let's go through, inshallah, so get started on that. You want to read the first one, Hamza? What the first one says? Yes, so the zakat is obligatory on every Muslim, every person that's a Muslim. So if somebody is a non-Muslim, like a Christian person or idol worshiper, and he has the wealth, then it's not obligatory on the zakat on that person. And that's a little bit different the way that the ulama, they look at it. Some of the ulama, they look at it as a zakat to be obligatory on the wealth, and some of the ulama, they look at it as to be obligatory on the individual, the zakat. So let's say there's $1 million laying around, for example. Then would you say there's zakat on it or not? So the people that look at it as it's obligatory on the wealth, they say yes, you got to pay zakat on it. And then they question who does this money belong to afterwards. But the person that looks at it, if it's obligatory on the individual, they look at the individual first and see if the zakat is obligatory on that person, and then see what wealth that they have. And this comes in, especially like when it comes to the orphan. Let's say a person, they're an orphan, Hamza. Somebody's an orphan. An Islam orphan is somebody without a father, and the father left money for the orphan. And what will happen is the people that look at it as the wealth, as the zakat obligatory on the wealth, they say this orphan, the zakat is due on that wealth that the orphan has. But the other people that look at it as obligatory on the person, they say no, the orphan is below the age of adulthood, so then the zakat is not obligatory on that wealth that the father left for the orphan. So you have that issue. So that's what the Sheikh, he says, it's obligatory on every Muslim. Somebody has to be a Muslim. And this refers to Nawi. It refers to women as well as men, not just the men. That's what it refers to for the Muslim. That's the first one. Okay, to read number 2, Nawi.
Non-Muslims, they don't pay zakat.
Right. Right. The non-Muslims, it's not obligatory on zakat for them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Did you read number 2, Nawi? And the second one that's obligatory for? free, the free person. What happens is a slave, the master, he owns the slave, and the wealth that the slave had, that belongs to the master. So somebody is a slave, then you can't say that he has any wealth. So the person has to be a free person to have the zakat obligatory on the person. So that's the second condition, that the person be free. It's not obligatory on slaves. Okay? And number three, you read it, Ibrahim?
reach the minimal amount.
Yes. And the term that they use for the middle amount, the threshold where the zakat is due, they call it nisab, nisab. So what happens is, on the different commodities a person they have, if they have less than that particular amount, then no zakat is due. But once they reach that particular amount, it's above that, then the zakat is due on that. And they refer to that as nisab. That is the minimal amount where zakat becomes due on the person. Noe, you hear that, Hamza? Okay, so you have to have that minimal amount, then the zakat is due. If you have less than that, it's not due. Okay, to read number 4.
Mulkan
Yes, so the person, they have to fully own that wealth. That's the issue that comes up if there's partners to the wealth, or if a person, they don't have full ownership of it, of the particular thing. So then the zakat is not due on it. It's what a person they fully owned, and that's due on that wealth. And it talks about later on the different types of wealth. Some people, they think that there's zakat on every single thing, but actually it's the other way around. There's zakat only on specific things, and by default, there's not zakat on it. Only on those things that are mentioned in the books of ilm that the zakat is due on. So a person, they have to own it fully. If it's a partnership for something, then usually there's not the zakat on it. But in the animals, there's a different ruling on the animals. If people, they keep the animals together, so that's another issue. But let's say that there's a person, they have $100,000, for example, and then they say it's owned by 10 people. So then it's not fully owned, so you can't say that. You can't do the 100,000 zakat on one person. Oh, that's not a good example. Let's say there's $100, for example, or no, I'm trying to think of something above the minimal amount. Let's say there's $10,000, for example, right? Or let's say $1,000, for example, and it's shared by 10 people. Then you can't say there's a zakat on $1,000, because each one is like 10%. It's only $100 per person, and that's below the nisab. So it has to be fully owned. So that's the issue that happens. Hmm? Yeah. I mean, it'll go later on. I'll talk about that, what the nisab is, and later on in the rules for the zakat. So it has to be fully owned, not something that's not fully owned. Other things that the zakat is due upon. Okay, to read number 5. Rahma, you want to read number 5? Yes, the other issue of the zakat, it's not what a person they earn. They don't pay the zakat on what they earn, but what they saved for a whole year. So if a person, if they have, let's say a person, they have $1,000,000, for example, but then they spent it, and then they're down to nothing, and then at the end of the year so the zakat is not on that. It's on what a person they saved for a whole year. Then the zakat is due on it. They have to have kept it for a whole year. And this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wisdom for the zakat, that it's really the money that a person, that they have extra money of, because they saved it for a whole year. Because over here, sometimes you see people, they make so much money, but then they have so many expenses that they have. They got to spend it on this and this and this, so they're not left with much. Even they're left in debt. So it's not on what a person they earn, how much they make, but it's on what a person they save for a year. And then after the year is gone by, then the zakat is due on what a person they saved for a year. Okay, is that clear? Okay, let's go to the next one. Hamza, read number 6. Yes, except for the zakat on things that have come out from the earth, the plants and the fruits and things like that, that the zakat is upon it, then it's not there that you keep for a year, but that's when you harvest it. So, like for example, on dates, there's zakat on dates if it reaches a minimal amount, And then the zakat is due on it when a person they harvest it, when they take it out from the trees. Then the zakat is due on it. It's not for them to wait for a year for it to keep the dates, and then the zakat is due. It's when they harvest it. So that's what the Sheikh mentioned. For things that come from the earth, then the zakat is due on that. And the other thing that comes from the earth is mentioned the two types. Is sometimes people they have the ma'adin, the minerals, and they have the so the zakat is on it when a person they take out, not necessarily keeping it for a year. And then the treasures, the khans that you have in the earth, then the zakat is on it immediately when it comes out on the earth. It's not where a person they keep it for a year. So that's what the Sheikh mentioned on the things on the earth. Okay, to read the next part. Was there? No, we read that. Number 8. Okay, number 7. Yes. Yes, so there's zakat. There's zakat only on these 4 different things mentioned here, 4 different categories. It's not like zakat is on every single thing, just on the 4 things. And the first one, what does it say, Noe? Number 7? Mm-hmm. Yes. So the first one is the livestock, the grazing livestock from the behemothil an'am, from the cattle. And the cattle is mentioned to be 4 different types: camels and cows and sheep and goats. And so that's the first category. There's zakat on those animals. And when you look at the zakat on the animals, it gets a little bit complicated, especially for the camels, because you have different ages of camels that there's different zakat that you have to give. And the cows also, you have particular ages that you have to give. And the sheep and the goats, they're considered to be one category, and they call that ghanam, they call it the word for it. So those are the ones that there's zakat on. And usually there's not zakat on horses. People that have horses, usually there's no zakat on that. And if a person they have cats, there's not zakat on them. Only if it's considered to be business merchandise. That's coming up next. There's zakat on those. Okay, to read number 8. Yes, and what's harvested from the earth. So if a person they grow fruits and grains and things like that, then the zakat is on it. We talked about that earlier. When a person they harvest them, and there's zakat on that, and it has to be a minimal amount. It's not like a person they have a garden in their backyard, they're gonna give zakat on it. It has to be 5 osak, which is 60 sa, which is no, that's coming up in the other lesson on the minimal amount. So then the zakat is on those things, the things that come out from the earth. And then also the issue is on treasure. If a person they find a treasure is very valuable, then they have to give 20%, 1/5 of it in the zakat. So that's coming up in other lessons on the things that come from the earth. Okay, that's number 8. And number 9, who's next?
What about all the governments that
They
get
get all,
all that oil from underground? Is that a buried treasure?
there's ikhtilaf in the ulama that they discuss it whether oil is considered to be ma'adin or not, so they talk about that. So. Okay, inshallah, to read who's next? Number 10?
Number 10.
Or number 9?
والخارج من الأرض
No, number 9? Yes. No, Ithman. Well, Ithman, Thaman.
Oh,
Number 9, Ithman, right? Ithman. Thaman is plural of Thaman. Thaman means the value of things, the price of things. So he uses that term, Ithman, and that usually refers to the gold and silver currency. There's a person in the time of Rasulullah, they used to buy and sell things with the dinars and the dirhams, which is the gold and silver currencies. And nowadays we have the paper money. We have the money that we have nowadays, and there's zakat on those things, on the currencies that you have, the Ithman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And on that, again, you have the 2 things. You have the minimal amount, the nisab, and then also you have the whole year. So that's what you have. So that's the other thing that's money. And these are things that the ulama of the different generations, they have to make that determination on what the zakat is due upon or not. Because nowadays we have In the old days, they used to use physically. They used to have gold and silver. They had the gold coins and the silver coins, and then in the past they made the paper money to represent the gold coins. And over here in America, they had a fort called Fort Knox, and what they did is they kept the gold over there safeguarded, and they would issue paper to represent that gold in the Fort Knox. Then people they started using the paper to as a currency as the money, and then afterwards it's been and then, so nowadays people they use the paper money, and that's considered the same as in the old days where they used the gold and the silver as the currency. So that's number 9, the Ithman, number 9. Okay, you read number 10. Who's next? Sheikh Omar, you want to read number 10? والأروض تجارة. Yes. Yes. So that's another thing that the zakat is on. If a person they have a store, if they're a merchant, if they're a businessman, they sell particular things. So the merchandise that he has, there's zakat on that also. That's what's mentioned. So that's the other thing. So those 4 things are mentioned. The first one is the livestock, the anam, the cattle. The second one is the things that come out from the earth. The third one is the currency, the gold and the silver. And the fourth one is the merchandise that the person they have in their business or their store or their trade. And those are the 4 different things that the zakat is upon. And bear in mind, the zakat is not on everything. Like, for example, if a person they have real estate, there's not zakat on the real estate, but there's zakat on the money that a person they earn from the real estate if it has fulfills the other conditions. Okay, so that's the thing. A lot of times, there's a lot of rules for the zakat, and most people they're not familiar with them. So it's very important, inshallah, that the person they be knowledgeable on the thing, because this is a requirement by Allah subhanahu wa taala. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, right? No, the third pillar is zakat, right? So it's one of the serious things in Islam. So a person they should know what the rules are for it and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down for it, and not go by ignorance and not go by feelings and not go by guesses, but go by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded, inshallah. All right, inshallah, let's read number 11. Yes.
You like so you say land, you don't have to pay zakat on land.
No, there's no zakat on land, on real estate. Even if a person they have so much, there's no zakat on it.
No zakat on land.
That's right. Yes.
Okay, and how about like if you buy a box truck maybe, and then you want the money, and you have to pay zakat on the truck?
No, you don't pay zakat on a truck, on that unless some of the ulama they say unless you put it for sale, then it's considered to be like business merchandise. So if it's considered to be business merchandise if you're selling the truck, but if you're using it for yourself, there's no zakat on it. There's no zakat on the truck and no zakat on the vehicles that you have, the cars that you have. Even if you have a very expensive vehicle, there's not zakat on it. It's only on the things that are mentioned in the books of ilm that the zakat is upon, not on everything.
Or not on a house, right?
No, not on the house, not on property.
What if you're renting out the house? Is it business merchandise?
If the money that you get from it, if it's considered to be money, and then if you kept that money for a year and it's above the minimum amount, then there's zakat on the money. But there's not zakat on the house, on the property that you own. Even if a person they own so many houses, there's no zakat on it. It's just on the money. And that is, but if a person wants to, they can give the sadaqah, but it's not the zakat that's due on the person. If they own the property, if they own the house. And bear in mind that when a person they give the zakat and the sadaqah, it goes on their account of good deeds in the akhirah, and it stays with the person after they pass away. Otherwise, the things that they have here, when they die, then that's it. It's gone. So that's the thing to bear in mind, inshallah. All right, inshallah. So let's read number 11.
So whatever comes out of the ground, you say, is it like everything or it's the exception?
That refers to the the dates and the fruits and the plants, the grains, and also refers to treasure, the person they get from the ground, And when it comes to ma'adin, which is the minerals and the things that people they mine, that the ulama they talk about. There's a lot of discussion about that in the books of ilm, like iron and things like that. But in the Hanbali school, they say yes, iron too. There's zakat on it, the iron and the gold and the silver and things like that that people they mine from the ground. So that's what they refer. So he puts that in the same category as the food, as the sheikh. He puts it in the same category, the things that come from the ground, as the like the dates, as they said, that comes from the ground, grows from the ground, and the grains. He puts that in the same category. And he says the things that people they mine in the ground too. That's what he said.
How about corn? That's the most common.
Corn, if it reaches the minimal amount, which is 5 osak, 60 sa, then they would say that there's zakat on it. Yes. And this here, there's different, in the different schools, they have different views. But in the Hanbali school, they say, all the things that come from the ground. That's what they say in the Hanbali school. Okay, inshallah. All right, so number 11, who's going to read it? Rahma? Yes. So there's no zakat on those things mentioned until they reach the nisab, the minimal amount on those things that are there. If a person they have less than the nisab, than the minimal amount, there's no zakat due. But if they have more than the minimal amount, then the zakat is due. So you have that threshold, you have that that amount, and they call that in the term that they use is nisab. They use that.
How do you know the minimum amount? How do you measure the minimum?
Well, you can calculate the value now. Like for example, in the gold, the minimal amount is 20 mithqal or 20 dinars. Each one is approximately 4 grams. So then it comes out to be like 80 grams. So you calculate how much is 80 grams of gold. Then if you have less than that, then that's below the nisab. If you have more than that, then that's a nisab. And so you do it on each of the other things, the same thing. You look at the value of those things, on the monetary things. And then when you look at the nisab on the crops, there's a particular volume, and they go by weight also. You convert it from the volume that they mentioned, the 5 osak, into how many kilograms the things are. So if you have more than that in the kilograms, then you pay the zakat. And the animals, they have a specific number of animals, so then that's the same. You don't really have to convert that over for the animals that you have. So it's mentioned on the different things. What is the minimal amount on the different things that are mentioned. We go through the animals. The minimal amount is for camels is you have to have 25 camels. The sheep, you have to have 40 sheep is the minimal amount of sheep. Cows, I think you have 30 cows. Those are the minimal amounts. And then for what's in the earth, you have to calculate the value, and it's got to be more than the value of the gold and the silver, the minimal amount. I believe that's how they do that. And the money, it has to be more than 20 dinars or 20 mithqal, which is 85 grams of gold, and more than 200 dirham. 200 dirham is like it's like 800 grams of silver. There's be more than that on the money. And the tijara, I think they do the same thing. So the value of the tijara, yarhamukullah. If it's more than the value of the gold and the silver, then is zakat on it. If not, then there's less. So that's how they do it on the minimal amount. So if you have less than that, then there's no zakat on it. If more than that, then there's zakat on it. About which one? Cash? The cash is the value of gold and silver, so you have to look at the value of it. If the cash you have is more valuable than 200 dirham, more valuable than 20 dinars, then there's zakat on it. If there's what? The Bitcoin? That's something that the ulama have to discuss. And the thing about it, when you look at what they do in Bitcoin, what it is, it's electronic transactions. And we already have that nowadays. When people, they write a check and they use a debit card and they do those things. It's electronically transferred from one place to another. So that's really what it is. But they put some type of cryptography in it, some type of, some type of security in it. And that's what they call it cryptocurrency. That's the term that they use it. But in reality, that's what people they do nowadays, because people they pay for things with debit cards and they pay it with checks, and that's exactly what that is. That's electronic transferring. That's what you find in it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the currency that we have in America and other places, it's regulated by the government of America. And the person they try to cheat it, they're gonna go to jail for a long time. No? And the cryptocurrency problem with that is that it's not regulated by the government. It's regulated by individuals, and there's a lot of room for for cheating, and that's the second thing about that. There's a lot of room for people for scams. What is that's the term for it on it? And then people they realize that, and the value drops so much on it. And the other thing is there's many different types of cryptocurrency, and the question is, what's the value of that cryptocurrency? Where do they get it from? Is it based on anything? Anybody can come up with some numbers and say this is cryptocurrency. Give me money for it, no, right? And they scam people that way. So that's something to be careful of.
The US dollar.
Well, what do you think happens in a lot of countries when you look at the currency? If the government wants money,
They just print more. So the US does that.
there you go. That's what happens, you know.
That
And if you
means
see
that means all currencies are invalid?
if what?
Are all currencies invalid because they just print more money?
Paper.
No, it didn't. Who said it was invalid?
How is it valid then? It's just paper.
I think you missed it. You were playing around before when I talked about that. No? I said before, what happened is in the old days they used to use gold and silver coins. Gold and silver coins. Okay? The dinar was a gold coin, and silver coin was a dirham. And then what happened in America a long time ago, what they did is they collected the gold and they put it in the Fort Knox. And what they did is they issued the paper to represent that gold in Fort Knox. And even in today's day and age, you have some representation of the money from the fort, but it's not as much as the currency that you have. So that represents
they
it.
just print more. They don't put more gold anymore. They just
Right. Yes, that's what happens. They print more, and there's more in the paper currency than there is in gold in the forts. And same thing in the other countries. But the thing is, it's given the analogy of the gold and the silver currency that they had in the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that's why you say that there's a zakat on them. Okay? All right, and the same thing with the cryptocurrency or the electronic currency. But the thing about that is, I mentioned that earlier, the government has to regulate it. They have to control it. Otherwise, people they can do a lot of scams and things like that with it. So that's the thing to bear in mind with those things. And that's in fact what people they do nowadays when they write checks and they use the debit cards. And the other thing is actually transferred electronically from one place to another. It's regulated so people they don't deceive the system or cheat the system. That's what happens. But in cryptocurrency, it's open for a lot of scams and things like that because anybody can make their own cryptocurrency and say, "Give me money with it," and take things from it. So that's what's problematic with cryptocurrency. Okay, inshallah.
So, is it allowed to trade cryptocurrency?
Well, I'd say be very careful. A lot of people they did that. They lost a lot of money on it because they didn't realize that it was made from nothing. And especially the other currencies that they have. People they make it from nothing, and people give money in it, and they give their real money into it, and then what happens in the end? They find out it's nothing. It's just numbers that people they make up. So you got to be very careful about that. And the thing is, it's really got to be regulated by a government. Then that's something that's more secure. And a person they can be more safeguarded on doing it with the cryptocurrency. Okay, inshallah. Okay, let's go to number 12. Who's on there?
وتجب فيما زاد على النصاب بحسابه.
Okay. Yeah, so a person, if they reached above the minimum amount, then a person, they should keep account of how much is there, and then they have to pay that amount. That's what the Sheikh is saying on there. if a person they're old, if they have to pay the zakat, and in the beginning they have less than the nisab, then as the time goes on, it reaches the threshold point, the nisab point, and then 1 year after that, the zakat is due on it, and the person they should keep track of what is due so that they don't get less. That's what the Sheikh is mentioning there. Okay, all right, inshallah. Number 13 is the last point. Yes. So the livestock is different. The livestock you don't really keep for a year. You keep track of the number of them that you have, and then as the time goes on, people they increase the number, and then you go by that number that you have to pay the zakat on the livestock, and that's in the next
What do you
lesson.
mean don't go up every year? It goes by the year, right?
No, you don't have to keep it for a year to pay the zakat on it. You see how many that you have currently, and you pay the zakat on it.
After 1 year.
No, you pay it currently, but you have the number of number of animals that you have. How much you currently have in the animals, not how much you kept for a year.
So when
Still have
when
nisab,
you,
you still
when
have,
you do
have to keep it for a year.
No, you don't have to
How
keep
do
it
you know
for a
when
year.
you pay the zakat on it? You pay every 3 months, every 6 months, every 8 months.
Yes, that's a good point, but that's what they say for the animals. That you don't have to
Every
have
year.
kept it for a
Check
year.
it every year.
If it's maybe yes, that's a good question. That's I didn't think about that. When do you pay the zakat on the animals? Uh, yeah, that's going to look into the details about that. But usually for the animals, it's not like the wealth where you keep it for a year and then after you kept it for a year, then you pay the zakat on it. It's how many you currently have.
The crop is when you harvest it.
Right. Yes.
You pay that when you harvest.
Yes. Yes. You know, the animals they don't talk about keeping the animals for a whole year and then paying the zakat on them. Because the thing is, if the minimal amount on a goat, what's the age of a goat? 6 months, right?
The goat can be many years old. They live
They
several years.
say- but they say zakat is if you have a 6-month-old goat. That's what they say. So they say things like that. So in a year, then that's like much past that. Person they might not, Anyway, inshallah. So we're looking to see what they say, the ulama they say about the animals. Inshallah, jazakallah khair. All right, inshallah. So let's go around the room. Do you have any questions or comments? Let's start with Hamza. Do you have any questions or comments about the zakat? There's a lot more lessons to it, a couple more lessons to it in the future where it goes into the details of each section. So this is just the introduction of madkhal, on the zakat. Do you have any questions or comments, Hamza?
stocks have stocks have zakat?
And the stocks,
Yeah.
the cash assets in the companies that you own, then you have to pay zakat on that. That's what the ulama they say. So let's say that you own like a corporation, you're a partner in that company, and that company has assets, and the cash assets that they have, there's zakat on those, and the merchandise that they have, there's zakat on them.
No, like if you buy stocks online, you have to pay zakat. Like trade.
The ulama here in America, they say that they go by Hatim al-Hajj, what he said. So he said a good estimate on the amount of the cash assets is 20%. That's what he said. So let's say that you own like maybe 100,000 in stocks. Then they say the cash assets of these companies on the average is 20,000. So they pay zakat on 20,000. That's what he says on the thing. But if you want to do it exactly, then you have to see the cash assets that you own in all the companies that you own, and then your share of that, and then you have to pay zakat on that. So that's what you do. Because what it is when you own stock, you're a partner in the company. And there's a million partners in the company, a million shares in the company. So you're actually a partnership in the company, and that company, the corporation, they have particular assets, they have particular things of value, and the zakat are on the cash assets, the things that you have in money, and on the business merchandise that they have. So you have to total those things and then pay zakat on those on your share. Okay, so that's what you have on stocks, inshallah. Okay, Jazakallah. Okay, that's a good question, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. And people that want to do this, they can study what the modern ulama they say about it. They go into more detail about these things, about the modern day financial instruments that people they have, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Okay, Sheikh Omar, did you have any questions or comments?
You have to pay zakat on the 4K and stuff like that.
401k is the same thing as stocks. They invest in stocks for you. That's what person they do. Because what they do is in their paycheck that they have, they take some money out and they invest it for you in these stocks and other places, and then you get it when you become retired. So you have to do the same thing. It's the same thing as like stocks. See what they invest in, and then pay the zakat on that on the cash assets that you have, the 401k. So it's like the same thing as stocks, that you have. Inshallah.
About life insurance.
Life insurance.
Yeah.
Okay, that one there is, you get into a different subject altogether. In life insurance, there's two different types of life insurance, major types. One is called term life insurance, and one is called whole life insurance. And basically what that is it says if you die, then you get the money. But when you get the whole life insurance, they say, are you going to die or not? You're going to die, so you're going to get the money at that time. So they call it whole life insurance. When you die, then you're going to get the money. And there's no question about it, that eventually you're going to die, then you're going to get the money.
What's the first one?
The term one. Term is like in a year. If you die in that year, then they give you the money. If you don't die in the year, then you don't get nothing. That's the term that they have. But the whole life is eventually when you die, then you get the money. So, and of course, a person is going to eventually die, right? Nobody lives forever. So those are the two different major types. So the one that's a whole life insurance, in fact, is just an investment. It's the same thing as an investment, and you just get your funds when you die, and it goes to the inheritors. The term life insurance, that's if a person they die at a particular term, like you keep it for 1 year, you keep it 6 months, something like that. If you die in that time, then you get the money. So then, then you don't actually have that money at that time. So there's nothing due on you on that case. There's a whole section called the Zakat on debts. The Sheikh, he goes into detail about if a person, they loan money to people and they're going to get money. So he talks about that also. About if a person, they have to pay Zakat on debts. And one of the things they say in the Hanbali school is that if you loan money to somebody, you don't pay Zakat on it until you get it back. Because you don't know if you're going to get it back or not. And then when you get it back, then you got to see how much zakat was due all the time that the person they had it, and then pay it at that point in time. That's what they say in the Hanbali school. So the life insurance depends on which type that you have. If you have the term one, then it's just, it's not really have anything. But the whole life one is the same thing as an investment. Zakat, okay, that's a good thing. That's something in the future that the modern day ulama, they try to come up with the rulings and explanation for them, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Good. Okay, Nawi, do you have any questions or comments? You know about the zakat before?
Yeah.
You know? Oh, okay, inshallah. The thing is, people they have to learn it and follow the rules for it. It's not the feelings of the person they have that they give. So the sadaqah is okay, A person they can do what they feel like in the sadaqah, but the zakat is very specific on the things that you have to do. No way. Okay, the zakat is very specific, and the rules are there for the zakat.
No, we said he doesn't know what
The nisab, okay. What's nisab mean? It means the threshold, the minimum point, the minimum amount that you need to have to give the zakat on it. If you have less than the nisab, then the zakat is not due. If you have more than it, then it's due. That's what nisab refers to. So, no. Okay. Ibrahim, did you have any questions or comments on the zakat introduction? There's more lessons to it. This is just like the introduction. Goes into more details about it, inshallah.
So except livestock before that, so like Can you explain it a little bit? If you have a camel, how much they have to give?
Those,
Five camels, how much
the camels are very complicated. There's a whole lesson just on the zakat on camels. Because the thing is, when you give the zakat on camels, they go by particular ages of camel. They say bintul laboon, bintul makhat. They say jada, hikka, things like that. And depending on the number that you have, then they have to give a particular age. So it gets a little bit complicated with the camels that you have. But they say like if you have 5 camels and you give one sheep, and it goes up to 25, and then 25, then you start giving camels for the zakat. So there's a whole lesson on the camels. It is a little bit in depth, on the camels. Jazakallah khair, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the future, we can cover that inshallah in a lesson in the future, inshallah. Jazakallah, thank you for the question. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. No, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. Okay, Imam Faisal, did you have any questions or comments on the introduction to zakat?
So there's no zakat on real estate, no matter how much it is.
No, there's no zakat. The thing is, by default, the zakat is not on things. It's only on the things that are mentioned in the text and in the hadiths, in the rules of fiqh. So no matter how much property a person they have, there's no zakat on it. But if they earn money from it, then the zakat is on that money that they earned on it. And that's what there is, and that's a big misconception, because they think people that have real estate, they're so rich, they're so wealthy, so they should be paid more zakat. But that's not how it goes by. It goes by, the things that are mentioned in the books of fiqh. That's how it works. And the thing to bear in mind is that what happens is these things, the person, when they give the zakat, they earn a reward in the akhirah, the hereafter, which lasts forever in the Jannah. So if a person, they do have a lot of wealth, and what they give in the zakat and the sadaqah, Allah will return to them. Everything in this world happens by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they'll have the good rewards in the akhirah. So it's a good idea to give it. But as far as the obligation to do so, it's not obligatory on a person to do so on the zakat, because zakat are things that are obligatory. That's there, inshallah.
Is there anything else to do on wealth other than zakat? Like, because you have some hadith, he does not believe who goes to who's full and his neighbor's hungry.
Yes, I mean
He
that's
doesn't have to pay zakat, but his neighbor's starving. Right now, all the people in Gaza are starving with that. And where people are living luxury lifestyles.
well,
Right next door to them.
that's a different issue. It's not on the zakat and the sadaqah. It's on the rights of the neighbor.
Yeah.
People that have that, and they have rights of the family members. They have to support their family members. So that's a different issue than the zakat, what that refers to. So the zakat refers to what a person they saved on the monetary things, what they saved for a year, then they give that to the poor and the needy and so on. That's what that refers to. And it purifies the whole wealth of the person they have. So a person, they might have a lot of wealth, and that wealth has some impurities in it, and then when they give the zakat, then the wealth becomes pure. That's the significance of it. The things that people they give, bear in mind, it's not gone. It's written on their account. So on the day of judgment, on the Yom Al Qiyamah, when they go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they'll have all the things that they gave in the zakat and the sadaqah on their account of good deeds. That's the thing to bear in mind. Okay, inshallah. All right, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. And that's something to keep in mind. Our ulama, they say in a lot of the du'as, وَلَا تَجْعَلْنَا الدُّنْيَا أَكْبَرَ هَمِّنَا. That don't make this dunya, the life of this world, be our greatest worry, our greatest concern. Because the reality is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this life of this world to earn for the akhirah, the hereafter. So that's the thing to bear in mind. A person, they should be concerned about the akhirah and not have, the obsession and things in the dunya. That's the thing to bear in mind, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. All right, inshallah. Allah reward you. Hey, Rahma, did you have any questions or comments? Okay, one of the things that I wanted to mention, I think it's a lot of people they take for granted. Most people they look at zakat as an obligation for the people that are wealthy. Anawi, Ibrahim, Hamza, they look at it as an obligation for people that are wealthy. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also made it a right for the people that are poor. They have a right to be supported. So that's why the ulama they say that you can only give it to particular places. You can't give it in other places because that right that the poor people they have a right to get that support and the zakat on them. And if a person they spend it, if it's spent on other places, then that takes away their right. So that's an important thing to mention about the zakat. That it's not just an obligation on the rich people, but it's a right for the people that are poor and needy, to be supported. Okay.
So the zakat only for maybe a field, or it can be used for medicine, or like medicine bill, or education, or
There's a whole lesson on where it's allowed to give the zakat to, and it's in the 8 categories that's mentioned in the ayah in the Quran. Fuqara wal masakina wal aminina alayha wal muhallafati qulubuhum and so on. It's mentioned 8 different categories, and that's where you give the zakat. And it's not a,
only that eight.
all in those 8 categories. That's right. Yes, because the reason is to keep in mind is that these people they have a right to be supported. So if a person they give it somewhere else, then that takes away their right. The person they're doing dhulm, they're doing injustice for those people that have a right to receive the zakat. So that's the thing to bear in mind, inshallah. No. Okay, inshallah, so we'll stop over here. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayk, wallahu ta'ala alam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Jazakallah khair. Thanks for listening. I pray Allah subhanahu. If I said anything from the ilm, you follow it. Anything from myself, just disregard it, and Allah knows best. Jazakallah khair.